Biden quite literally gave away a whole country to the Taliban. So, in a previous video, we actually mentioned that this is going to be a pretty bad thing with basically the Taliban basically just taking over everything. And like this is like so messed up that this happened so quickly. Like it is disturbing how quickly this stuff went down. And it's disturbing to have a president that can't own up to it and basically deal with the situation. Like, let's get into the story, but this is not going to bode well for basically the future. Like, the next few years, it's going to be extremely bad and extremely brutal. And if anything, probably within the next couple weeks, probably within the next 2 weeks, it's going to be extremely brutal. And you could also just see in like on this like side article, right, from the New York Post. Like, I mean, there's already been civilians that were basically that died from trying to escape by clinging onto planes. Like, it's getting bad. But let's get into the story. So let's see. President Biden admitted Monday that the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban happened more quickly than we anticipated, but added that I stand squarely behind my decision to order the vast majority of U.S. forces out of the country, stopping short of acknowledging the bungled exit strategy that led to the Western-backed government's chaotic collapse over the weekend. And here's the thing, right? Like, this is kind of a situation where, like, 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? So if you subtract 1, which is the American forces, well, that no longer equals 2, right? So if you subtract 1, you still have to add another 1 to replace that 1 for the equation to equal 2, right? So you gotta basically do 1 minus 1 plus 1 equals 2 to make sure that there's like an equilibrium. And so basically what I mean by that is that if you were to take out troops from Afghanistan, wouldn't it make sense to have some sort of force in place, could be the Afghan military, to basically slowly cover up where the American forces were actually positioned at, what they were controlling? Because I don't know if people are aware of this, but there was like photos circulating not too long ago where there was like massive air bases with massive amounts of military weaponry and vehicles that was just completely deserted, right? Think about that for a second. Like massive bases that were just deserted overnight. What do you think is going to happen? Of course, they're going to end up taking control over all that stuff if no one is there to look over the stuff. But let's again continue. So, in his first remarks on the deteriorating situation since Tuesday, when he told reporters Afghan security forces had to fight for themselves, fight for their nation, the president laid blame for the national humiliation largely at the feet of his predecessor, former President Donald Trump, as well as the Afghan forces supported by billions of taxpayer dollars worth of material. When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban, Biden said. Under his agreement, U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1st, 2021. U.S. forces had already drawn down during the Trump administration from roughly 15,500 American forces to 2,500 troops in the country, and the Taliban was at its strongest military since 2001. The choice I had to make as your president, he added, was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban in the middle of the spring fighting season. There would have been no ceasefire after May 1st, and there was no agreement protecting our forces after May 1st. There was no status quo of stability without American casualties after May 1st, and there is only the cold reality of either following through on the agreement to withdraw our forces or escalating the conflict and sending thousands more American troops back into combat in Afghanistan, lurching into the third decade of conflict. Now, the only problem with this statement, right, which you could probably just read the statement and see the issue, is that there is still so much time since May 1st till now that you could have made some sort of plans, right? So if President Trump did screw up on his planning, you had the time to figure out a counter strategy to make sure that this exit, if it were to actually go through, went down with more security, like with more of a support system, right? Where like you just don't like just pull every single troop and then basically all hell breaks loose, right? Like there's a lot of time that you could have just figured out what to do, or at the very least done a slightly better job than just completely screwing over a whole country. So Biden then rounded on Afghanistan's political and military leaders, including overthrown President Ashraf Ghani, who he said gave up and fled the country as the Taliban conquered provincial capitals in bunches day by day over the past week. The Afghan military collapsed, sometimes without trying to fight, the president went on. And if anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now is the right decision. And the only thing about this is that I'm pretty certain that the Afghan military was trained in conjunction with air support from the U.S. military, but because there's nobody actually at the U.S. military air bases to actually offer support to help defeat any of these terrorist groups, what are they going to do? Right? Like, how much support do they actually have? Right? Like, this is the problem with this whole thing. Where, like, if they like steadily put more Afghan troops into the military bases to basically learn how to operate and function with them actually, doing the supporting themselves instead of like heavily relying on the U.S. government, they would probably have a better chance than them just not getting involved at all. So American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves, which is kind of screwed up that he would even say this, because at the same time, he ends up just sending in a whole bunch of troops right off the bat back into Afghanistan, which is like over double the amount of troops that were actually there. So as the president spoke, thousands of U.S. troops were racing to evacuate diplomats and personnel from Kabul after Taliban fighters in a lightning offensive took over the capital city on Sunday. So chaos reigned at the capital's international airport as Afghan civilians chased a U.S. Air Force plane along the tarmac, even clinging to the aircraft as it took off in a desperate attempt to escape the Taliban. Video showed two men falling from the plane as it rose from the runway, and other reports described how the number of people clogging the tarmac prevented other evacuation flights from taking off or landing. The horrifying images have caused outrage among lawmakers from both parties, who had urged the administration for months to make provisions to evacuate thousands of Afghans who had assisted U.S. forces over the previous 2 decades and who are marked for death by the avenging Taliban. And this is the biggest issue that I see with this, right? Like, when you had support in that country, right, of civilians in there that helped support the American military, risking their own lives, their own safety, to help the American military, how could we just leave them there to basically get slaughtered, right? Like, this is the saddest thing about this whole situation. It's like, SIVs, had been moved to the United States since July. However, many thousands more are believed to be in danger of being left behind with the Taliban closing in. Biden insisted Monday that some Afghans eligible for SIVs did not want to leave because they were still hopeful for their country. He also claimed that the since fallen government discouraged us from organizing a mass exodus to avoid triggering, as they said, a crisis of confidence. The president then vowed a swift and forceful response if the Taliban interfered with the U.S. military's evacuation operation at the airport. So with the work of 20 years of American blood and treasure undone in a few short weeks, Biden said the focus of U.S. policy regarding Afghanistan would turn to what is possible. We will continue to support the Afghan people, he vowed. We will lead with our diplomacy, really depressing, and our humanitarian aid. We'll continue to push for regional diplomacy and engagement to prevent violence and instability. We'll continue to speak out for the basic rights of the Afghan people, of women and girls, just as we speak out all over the world. Biden initially announced in April that all combat forces would be out of Afghanistan by September 11th, the 20th anniversary of the devastating terror attacks that precipitated the U.S. invasion of that country 2 decades ago and the toppling of the Taliban government. That deadline was eventually moved up to the end of August. So since the first American bombs fell in Afghanistan on October 7th, 2001, more than 2,300 U.S. military members have died and more than 20,000 have been wounded in America's longest war. And on Monday, Biden recalled urging Ghani and another top Afghan official, Abdullah, to engage in diplomacy to seek a political settlement with the Taliban when the three met in person at the White House in June. This advice was flatly refused, Biden said. Mr. Ghani insisted the Afghan forces would fight, but obviously he was wrong. So I began to ask those who argued that we should stay, how many more generations of American daughters and sons would you have me send to fight Afghanistan's civil war if Afghan troops would not? How many American lives is it worth? How many endless rows of headstones at Arlington National Cemetery? I'm clear in my answer. I will not repeat the mistakes we made in the past. While top administration officials, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley briefed lawmakers about the situation unfolding in Afghanistan on Sunday, and the president did not speak publicly. And the White House tweeted a photo Sunday showing Biden sitting by himself at a desk in Camp David while getting updates from his national security team. So attempts to reach White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki were greeted with an out-of-office message saying she would not be back from vacation until August 22nd. Psaki did, however, comment on the president's remarks on Twitter, writing, POTUS made clear that he will not ask Americans to fight and die in a war that the Afghan military is not willing to fight for itself. Former President Donald Trump commented immediately following Biden's remarks via an email statement, writing, it's not that we left Afghanistan. The 45th president reacted following Biden's remark. It's the grossly incompetent way we left. And this is the thing. I would have to agree with that statement because, look, it's not the fact that we left. It's the fact that we left in such a way that we left such a massive vacuum in a country that everyone knew that if we left a massive vacuum, it's going to get filled up immediately by people we do not want it to be filled up by. So, again, this is the whole comment I made earlier, kind of in this episode. It's like, this is a 1 plus 1 equals 2 issue, right? If you wanted to equal 2, when you subtract 1, you still got to endings ever, right? Like, this is going to get extremely bad. And now they have control over a whole country with billions of dollars from taxpayers, right, from American taxpayers, of highly technology advanced military weapons, gadgets, and so on. Think about that for a second. They own a country, like they control a country, and they have ownership of billions of dollars worth of military weaponry. And another statement is like, I remember reading something not too long ago, literally today, where basically the whole point, well, I mean, basically, we trained, I think, close to about like 300,000 Afghan military personnel, right? With all the military weaponry that we have over there. Like, that was to basically, help support the 300,000 worth of soldiers of basically the Afghan military, right? Which means that now that the Taliban has control over Afghanistan, that means the taxpayers, the American taxpayers, have just funded the Taliban in the terms of 300,000 Taliban soldiers that all hate America. Think about that for a second. We basically just funded a military of a country that wants to end every single one of us. So it's going to get really bad very quickly. I don't know how we're going to end up solving that issue other than sending in massive amounts of troops. And that's something, that could just get really, really bad, right? Like, you don't want another war. You don't, this is just going to get super, super bad. And I have no clue how this is going to end up